Greetings, greetings. How's everyone doing? I know it is like 12 o'clock in the morning. I wanted to make an announcement, very exciting announcement, of course. I will be in the Washington D.C., Maryland area next weekend from August 25th. And on August 25th, I will be at the We Act radio station at 1918 Martin Luther King Avenue in Washington, D.C., where I'll be conducting a speaking engagement with Ta'Von Powell. And it's so exciting, of course. And of course, we're going to be doing some live readings. So we're going to start speaking from 2:30 in the morning. 2:30 in the morning, pardon me. From 2:30 in the afternoon until about 6 p.m. We'll be there speaking, as well as we're going to be doing some live reading. So I know it's been a long time since I've shown myself, so here I am. And so if you would like to schedule any reading ahead of time, if you're in the Washington, D.C., Maryland area, please feel free to call. I posted everything to do with it in my timeline, and it's called The Awakened Self, A Journey to Healing, Love, and Light. So that's going to be on the 25th, which is that Saturday. And Sunday, I'm going to be at, it's supposed to be called the Soiree for the Soul. And the Soiree for the Soul is going to be where there's henna, guided meditation, astrology, functional medicine, Reiki, crystal healing. And I'm also going to be doing readings there as well. This is going to be held at 8171 Maple Lawn Boulevard, and that's going to be in Maryland. And that's going to be that Sunday from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. So I'll be in that area doing readings and speaking and everything for that whole weekend. And so I'm very excited to be a part of this because, you know, it's like Spirit has me now where more things are happening in a live setting, you know, to be there for everyone because there's so much happening. Right now it's 12 a.m. So how are you all feeling? I know it has been a while. I've been really going through a lot of deep, I would say deep, heavy clearing and stuff like that for the past several months. And it has been quite interesting, I must tell you. And a lot of surrendering that I can tell you. If you have any questions you'd like to ask me, please ask me while I'm here. You didn't know I was a reader? Of course I'm a reader. Oh, you never know that. From a long time I've been a reader. I've been reading I've been reading people since I've been a little girl. I was telling someone today that how from the time when I left Jamaica when I was a little girl, I was just like a year. I was about a year and a month or whatever, and I was in the island of Manhattan, call it the island of Manhattan that time in Washington Heights, with my mom. And from that time, I've been studying and observing people on the planet. So you never ask. And so from that time on, I've always been observing everything. And so, you know, I've stated before, there's a great awakening and ascension happening on the planet. So some of you may find yourselves not being able to sleep as much and functioning. And there's a lot of things to understand about what is really going on because it's not what it all appears to be. You see? So I'm here to light the way to make things be known to what's really going on here amongst our peoples. So myself and Ta'Von, we will be speaking for about an hour and a half, and then we're going to be doing some live readings both days in Washington, D.C. and Maryland. And we're going to be offering discount on, you know, reading sessions or anything. So if anyone knows, I'm on a twin flame path, and that path itself can be quite interesting, and it can be quite, I don't want to say challenging, but there's just a lot to understand about it. And what that means is that it really has to do a lot to do with the awakening of your soul on both ends. There are many of us that carry both the masculine and the feminine aspect. And it's about bringing ourselves together, and it's about coming back to unity consciousness, which I've always spoken about that before. And so in this space of what we are all doing together, we're all on different levels of consciousness. We're all on different levels of understanding of this. I am here to help each person to understand that path. And if you're connected to me in any way whatsoever, whether it's in person or right here, on social media, it means you're a part of my soul group. We're one soul family. And because of this, there's many of us that are here with designated codes, DNA codes. There's a lot of ancestral clearing going on. Eon, you said that what's going on with me, enough people well, that's a part of what's happening with the awakening. You'll find yourself not necessarily being in communication and contact with family members as such. You may find yourself not eating certain things a certain time. Some of us may even end up putting on weight, taking off weight. You're going to find yourself feeling isolated from people and others. All of this is a part of the ascension. Many deaths and transitions taking place also. I had one death in my family. She was one of the matriarch in my family, and I knew she was going to transition at some point, and it happened, especially when I became more awakened to this twin soul path. And then there was someone that I knew that got killed this year that I had contact with, even with my daughter, and it was devastating, and I had to process through that too. So, but there's just something to remember again, that most of these souls, most of us, whether we're here in the physical body or not, are here to facilitate this awakening. There's so much energy that has been deep within the soul and on the earth, that each one of us play a role in what is coming up to the surface. And so as we're getting triggered, in most cases, through each person, just remember that everyone serves a purpose to whatever it is that you're seeing, every single soul. And I always stated it as simple as possible, that we all were at a place where everything was just in peace and paradise, and it wasn't enough. We wanted to experience what we knew, and that means that each one of us decided we were going to play a role in this awakening. And so for eons and centuries, all the things that we've gone through, we decided now it's time for us to come back to the way we were and how things were. And that means coming back to that peace and that joy. And that means that we're integrating everything to who we have ever been. And that's why it's so important, again, to remember what I've always stated, not to judge what you see. And that means that we're also releasing stuff that doesn't serve us. And that includes the things that have built up when it comes to the religion structures with control and power and the politics and all that stuff. I don't pay attention to any of that. I might gather up a little bit of information here and there, but you might find yourself not even being that interested in some of the things that are going on out there, because a lot of it is really just what's coming up to the surface. And then whatever comes up to the surface, or whatever it is that might be triggering you, is for it to come into its awareness. As it comes into its awareness, and you make light of it, and it's to remember that's what's happening beyond what you're seeing in the physical world. And so with that as such, there are many of us as light workers, whether regardless of what title you want to give it, a name you want to give it, that are here to light the way and to enlighten each other and to awaken and to trigger the fuck out of you in every way possible. And it may come across as this person is this and this person is that, but still it's divine. It is still on its purpose. And so it's essential to remember about this, okay? And everything to what's happening, it is still on its divine purpose. It still is. And one of the observations that I continue to make when it comes to our people, and everybody's our people, by the way, so I'm not singling it out. Be conscious of the words that you speak. Be conscious of how you feel that goes behind the words that you speak. I was talking to a soul sister yesterday, and I asked her, and I said, how are you doing today? She said, oh, I'm hanging in there. I said, no, don't hang in there. I said, stand strong. Well, I'm hanging in there because, as far as I'm concerned, I'm hanging in there and I'm standing strong. You know who you are, honey, and I love you, but I must talk about these things because, you see, if we do not change how we speak and the programming, then we continue on the cycle of all the experiences that we have. because we're doing it together, singularly and universally together. As one person changes how they speak and the feelings that go behind it and how we perceive things and how what's projecting, then all that energy, all those timelines of repeated cycles of stuff will start to disintegrate, and then you're creating a new time, a new energy, a new generation. All of the younger people, they're doing things differently, and if you're not catching up to everything, then you stay behind, and you might feel stuck. You might feel like you're in fear. You might feel like you're in doubt. You might feel like what's going on here, and everything is speeding up so rapidly, more rapidly, and if you're not allowing yourself to be open and surrendering to all of this. He said, I'm much more than reader. Yeah. I speak also. I speak truth, and I speak what comes from my heart. So I don't have to, I don't make up any stories. I'm telling you from my own experiences and what I observe, what I see, what I feel. You know, the empathic rate within me has gotten even stronger. Hearing conversations, I can feel the energy between two souls. That's why, I specialize in twin soul readings to help, so that way it's not chaotic. You find yourself feeling in greater peace, because that's what we're doing, is we're integrating all the shadow parts of ourselves that show up. And it's triggered more, or I should say magnified more, from the person that reflects who you are. And so I know some may not be necessarily on that path, but those of you who are on that path, as far as the twin soul journey, always keep remembering that whatever is spoken coming from your twin or your divine complement, whatever they say to you, whether it's in the dream state or the waking state, that is what you are to pay attention to, and to look at what is being said, because that's what is coming out. It's what's being, it's like you're shining the light to that darkness. You're shining light, not evil. Darkness means what's hidden, what's not known, that's or unknown, because the veil is thinner now, so we're able to feel and to see things. And at some point, we're just not going to be saying certain words, because certain words carry a vibration. So I get back to when my sister said, I'm hanging in there. Hanging in there is a terminology that was used back in slavery days, when they used to hang our colored folks. And so certain words were spoken to say, so that way you keep thinking the thoughts and the words, and it's in the vibration. As you speak a word, be conscious of the words that you speak, because as you put it out there, then it starts to manifest. You make it real. And then when your feelings are strong behind it, there you go. See? And some of these words are spoken even in the twin flame community as well. I've been hearing so often and so much about the darkness and what the darkness is doing to others. And also another thing that I hear so often is not all twins are going to come together. Do you understand that this is a divine path? It's a sacred path. And with this sacred path, that means it comes not only with knowledge, but wisdom. All the things that have been spoken throughout centuries upon centuries upon centuries has been so deep within the subconscious mind, that even for those who are awakening to themselves, it's so deep within you. You may not even realize that you're repeating something, but it has another name to it, and it carries that vibration, and then it continues. And so I say, this path, this journey is a divine journey. And therefore, anything that may look like it's calamity, chaos, or evil, or the darkness, it is serving its purpose for what must come out. Every single person that you come into contact with, I don't care if it's a 2-month-old baby, there is something within that soul that is assisting with the awakening and the ascension of the planet. Even my own children would speak certain words and things, and it's not because it comes from me. Where it comes from the genetics. It comes from the lineage. It comes from the ancestors. It comes from way back. More than just this lifetime. You see, even in my culture, there's certain words and things that are said that's repeated and repeated and repeated and brings fear, you see, and doubt. and worry and all these things. And that's why it's important, again, to be mindful and conscious. Be conscious of what's happening around you. Be conscious of what's really happening out there. If you feed your spirit and your soul into the crimes and the police that are doing things to black people and this doing this to that one, and that, what do you think is happening? It's continuing, and then you get angry, and then it starts all over again, and it continues. So you see, there's a difference between being in awareness of something, and there's a difference between when you're in awareness of it, how deep are you going to keep taking it? How much are you going to hold on to it? Are you going to release and let it go? And once again, we're still bringing things into an awareness. Be mindful of what you're projecting. As you project and you speak out the words towards someone or an event or something you're experiencing, what is your view on it? If you know that if you're speaking to someone, especially like if it's your twin, I had someone that called me for a reading, and she was saying her twin was saying, oh, you don't do this good enough, and da la la la. And I said to her, I said, well, where do you think that's coming from? I said, well, what I pick up on is that it's coming from something that happened when you were a child, and your father used to talk to you that way. See? And she said, oh, yes. See? So there's always something when it comes at you, which is not coming at you, because I only say it in that sense because that's how most human beings speak. They say they're doing this to me, or someone is doing that to me, and the dumpy, or someone is doing something to me that's evil, and this person is this, and they're narcissistic, and I say again, what do you think that means? There is something reflecting back to you about that, from that person. 99.999 times it's coming from something that you've experienced, and that person is acting out the feelings that are within you. I see, that's how simple it is. I see my own children when they say certain things too, that it's coming from the lineage, and I say to them, don't say that. No, that's not. And then it's a lot of shifting, because now, if anybody doesn't know, I have 5 children with 5 different personalities. They're all born under different times: sun sign, moon sign, rising sign, the ascendant sign, right? North nodes. How much are you paying attention to things that are happening astrologically with yourself? Do you know that every second of the minute of the day, your entire being is responding to the planets? Do you understand that there's more happening than what you think is happening when you get up and go to work, or whatever you do throughout the day, or whatever you plan for the weekend? Do you understand there's more happening here? Because you see, it's when you put all those pieces together, of that puzzle, that's what gives you greater wisdom to understanding what is happening right now. You see? And sometimes we forget, and that's why we're all here to remind, REMIND, RE/mind, reprogram. Remind yourself again why you're here, why you decided to incarnate again for maybe the 10,000 lifetime, because you've been here more than one time. I say it's simple again. If you know you go to school and you didn't do so great in a subject matter, you have the opportunity to go back and do it again. In this case, we're not just taking opportunities to come back here again. We're here to template and embody the true light of the Christ consciousness. We're here to embody the true divine feminine and masculine energies. Okay, we're here to embody ourselves as we are making observation of ourselves in the microcosmic aspect of the divine through Mother and Father God. I say it again because it's getting higher and higher in these frequencies, and we're not here to just dumb down ourselves. We're here to reclaim everything that has always existed throughout humanity. Everything that has always existed. Focus on who you are and what you're here for, and your children, your offspring, what you're here to bring together collectively, individually and collectively. The individual aspect of you that comes together in unity. Because all it takes is for one person to just focus on how and who they are with your gifts, because every one of us is here to bring a gift. Everyone knows that today, yesterday, now where I am is yesterday, that the great, and I don't want to say late because she's still here, she's just in another form, Aretha Franklin. What a beautiful voice. What a beautiful voice. Her voice just touches your soul. There's no way that even if you're in that moment of anger or hatred or indifference, that when you hear her voice, that you don't feel something coming, because her soul just sparks you and lifts you and brings you into that space of feeling something, because we're not just to go from the mind anymore. You can't. You feel, you hear, you cry, you bring it out. No longer any of you, divine masculine, do you have to feel as if you can't be vulnerable, that you cannot express yourself. You can express yourself. You don't have to think if you can't wear a pink blouse or shirt, I should say. You can't think that anymore, that you can't be strong and, you know, that you don't show your weakness, because it's through your weakness that you also show your strength. It's about coming to that space of true unconditional love of yourself. And as you have that love and it just pours through you and everything else to do with who you are, if whatever you desire from your heart, do it and be it. Do not let what you've been taught from childhood and what someone else has said and how you should be to stop you from being the greatest version of yourself. So that means if you're a doctor and a lawyer and all the different category stuff that society has placed all this emphasis on what you should be, if you feel that you always wanted to just be a dancer instead, then do it. Don't let that stop you. If you feel that you're in a marriage or a relationship that is no longer serving you, time to eclipse it out. That's why we've had all these eclipses and all these, pay attention to the moon cycles now. Pay attention to all of that. Because guess what? That's how it has always been. That's how it has always been from the ancient times back in Kemet. And they used to pay attention to the planets. They used to pay attention to the energies. That's where the guidance comes, because it's all within you. It's not outside of you. It's within you. And it is coming through rapidly, rapidly, rapidly. You see? And you see, once you allow yourself to remember again, to be in that awareness, what happens is you will find yourself even greater into a path of peacefulness and amazement and wonder, because you'll be able to remember yourself as how much magic that you create by remembering yourself as the aspect of the divine, as the divine as you are, that's within you, because God and everything is all things everywhere cosmically. We're cosmic beings. We came from the stardust. That's how it started. We incarnated to show and demonstrate what it looks like to feel love, what it looks like to see it from the spiritual eye and the physical eye, what it's like to be in an expression of love for one another and for yourself, because you can't leave anything out anymore. Everything is integrating and coming together, you see? And the key thing is remembering how to balance. The key thing is balance. There are some females who are strong at, in masculine energy, and it's how do you come back to that nurturing state and your intuition, And then there's those who are, males that are in the, they carry feminine energy too. Are you coming back to your strength? Are you, remembering to, empower yourself? Or are you still giving away your power? You see, what more have you been receiving in terms of, awakening yourself? Because I don't use the word lessons, because you see, that's another word too that human beings uses, the word lessons, like you're being punished. You're not being punished. You're not being punished. Great morning. You're actually awakening to your true divine self. That's what's going on here. And in the midst of this, you will be taken to the secret place of the Most High. The secret place of the Most High is where you're taken, where you are remembering your connection to God, to the divine, to the cosmos, to the universe, to the all there is. And as you come into that space, you're going to go through periods of what you call separation. And so you say, how am I going to remember myself while I may not be speaking to this person, or I'm having issues with this other person, or even at my job, and how I'm allowing this person to talk to me and tell me, how, what to do, and I'm not able to express myself. And you will know, because you will feel that feeling within your gut when you know that it's time to let go. And if you don't let go, trust me when I say that spirit is definitely going to bring some more experiences. Your higher self is going to bring on more experiences. And again, I don't use the word lessons because you see, there's so much programming with many of our people with using the word lessons. Because you see, when you think of lessons, it feels heavy and it feels like you're being punished. And then there's always this right versus wrong element that goes out there. And if you don't listen to me, then this is going to happen to you. And that's that fear thing. It started from with the religion. It was brought into the element of churches. Then it's also brought into the twin flame community. Then it's brought also into other aspects of things that has to do with us awakening. Again, there is no such thing as right and wrong. It really isn't. I had to remember that a long time ago. It's all in perspective. It's how you look at it. If you feel that you must go down into the valley of the shadow of death and feeling angry, bitter, in fear, confused, all these things, as long as you know why and where it's coming from and you take it to a higher perspective, then what it'll do for you is that you're completing a circle. You're completing the circle of coming back into that space of wisdom. That is how Yeshua did it when he walked as the master on the earth, okay? Because he was on a mastery path also. He also had tried and did it with Mary Magdalene with creating sacred alchemy, but it didn't hold into that space for too long. When I was also on the earth plane, who I was from in the past, I also tried to do the same thing. You see, now I'm back again. The same personality, the same me, still me. So you see, we don't die. We just recycle, and we've been doing it over and over again. So now, as it was written in the scriptures, as far as the book of Revelation, that 1,000-year reign is now at that point where I kept seeing 144, the 144,000. But it's more than that anyway. The numbers have increased, in case anyone didn't know that. And the reason I say that is because it's not just planet Earth that things are happening. There are things that are happening in other parts of the cosmos. And imagine, like, when I remember when Neil Donald Walsh says, oh my gosh, there's so many people that are still in kindergarten. This is the time. The time is now. You're not going to an altar. You're not going to any place where you got to vindicate yourself or go to a priest to be, where you're confessing your sins and all that stuff. It has nothing to do with that. This has to do with you remembering yourself. And that's what I'm going to say. And that's what I'm going to say because that's what I'm guided to continue to say. We are not going to continue with certain words that we speak. We're talking about that dark forces is trying to stop us from things happening. The dark forces is within you. And everything that's within you that is strong and holding on to and not wanting to let it the fuck go, that is what is like it's like when I see it, it's like stone sometimes with some people. Why the body continues to bring on these illnesses and the fear, you see? And the elements of things as if something is out to get you or something is getting you. It's to understand again that every person, that something is coming out of you. Something is showing from you. So you can see it for what it is. And it's to identify where is it coming from. Because it's coming from something, especially to do with your childhood. The inner child that is longing for something to heal with what you're experiencing. And so it's going to show up in your space from either people you work with, people you live with, people you're married to, or a relationship with. I don't business if it's even a dog, okay? That's how it is happening. You'll find yourself going into the separation. You'll find yourself that you might come back with someone. You might find yourself going to separation from the person and you're just going to keep loving them from a distance, and that's it. But you must not hold yourself back. If you're being shown something from spirit, pay attention to the signs. You must follow your heart and follow your path, because we're not all on the same path, but we're all getting to the same place if you're not already there. There are many roads again to love. There's many ways that love shows up. And the divine has always shown me that love is expressed in so many forms. And I was telling someone that I love very dearly just yesterday. We're talking about how certain people that, what we've experienced through this awakening, where you almost feel like you want to hate them, And I told him, I said, I remember myself, because I'm a very loving person, but I'm also very straightforward. And I told him, I said, I remember when I really hated one human being on the planet more than anything else because of what I experienced with my my oldest son. And it took me a while to get to that place where I didn't feel it anymore. And what it took for me not to be at that place was when I met Neil Donald Walsh in person. And I met him on the stage, and I had to ask him this question. I said, how do you get from that place, from not feeling that towards an individual? And what he reminded me was that is to remember that it's not the person you're looking at, it's the soul. Because we're all soul beings. We're just living it out in a human form, you see? And so we're not just living it out, but we're actually templating what our soul desires in the physical element, in the physical world. We're bringing it all together. We're bringing the spiritual realm and the physical realm together. And so he reminded me of this book, which I recommend for any one of you out there that you're facing something with someone or something. And it's called The Little Soul and the Sun. And that book is when two souls were incarnating and they were getting ready to descend. Whether they're going to descend in the mother's womb, because the soul doesn't stay there, right away. Soul goes in and out. Can you imagine if you really wanted to stay in your mother's womb for 9 months straight? That's boring. So come on, use your head here. So, the soul descended and said, okay, could you please remember when I descended, I'm going to do the most horrific things to you, the most vilest things to you. Will you remember to love me? Will you remember who I am? Will you remember who you are? Because the way that other soul, say you have, soul A and soul B says, okay, I'm going to remember because I love you so much. And you love me so much that you're demonstrating that love by being such and such. You see? You couldn't know who you are or remember who you are if you did not face what you call difficulties. If you did not face the fears, if you did not face the sorrow, if you did not face the fear, the pain, all of that, you see? And so in all things, give Jah thanks, because it's in the element of what you're experiencing is what you get to see who you are in the 3D aspect and your third eye aspect, and it's like really seeing everything from all perspectives. So it doesn't always be the chatter in your head, because if you stay in your head all the time and you're looking at it and it's like, and I'm saying, it's okay if you still feel like you got to curse and sing and cry, whatever you have to do, whatever you're feeling, honor those feelings. But don't forget to complete that circle and remember, what is the divine purpose? What is the divine purpose? What is happening here? What is showing up? How am I showing up as God? Remembering yourself as God. Yes, you are as God. Because that element of who you are comes from God. And God shows up through each and everything. There is no space in between where God, the divine, whatever name you want to call, because God don't get mad if you call it another name. You see? And it's to release that energy, and you set yourself free. When you detach from the outcomes, you detach from the circumstances, you detach from what someone says or how you feel, but you honor it at the same time. So you're able to navigate through all of this. You're able to navigate, and then you become centered. And how can you allow yourself to get through it? Because it hasn't been just, picnics in the park for me at times, and you see me, I put out my videos and I'm singing and I'm dancing and I'm playing, and that's the real me, that because it makes me feel good inside, you see? So when you think about all the songs, it says, you make me feel good inside. Oh, yeah. And when you're singing, instead of talking, what you're doing is you're releasing and you're feeling and you're connecting from the soul. Oh, yeah. And I don't know that song, but I just made it up because a part of me wants to shift the energy, and I shift the energy by my voice. Oh, I feel so good to sing to you. See? And what a difference it makes when we connect to the all there is. And whether we sing and we move and we bring it into some movement. And then, you know, if even at the moment that you cry and you come back to joy and you remember again that it's all divine. It's all divine. Everything. You see? And no matter what, as we are recycling out all these energies, and it's recycling and we're disintegrating all these timelines and all these different elements of things that we've experienced, that means that we are really recreating a new earth. And the earth itself is also ascending more and higher and wider. The planet Sirius is connecting to us through the sleep state, the waking state, all of it. You may find yourself having to move. You may find yourself having to leave from one location to the next. Mercury's in retrograde. I've had so much different things happening electronically and communication and all that stuff. You're having to review. You're going through this life review. And it can be quite a bit. Yes, it can. But just know that Spirit got your back. And that everything and all things is serving its purpose. Again, for those who are on this twin soul path, keep in mind and remember again that everything that shows up through your family, your friends, anything that shows up from your twin soul or your divine complement, whatever name, it's still a sacred partnership. And whether it's showing up energetically or physically, you cannot cut the cord. That's another thing too that I want to make sure to reiterate again. You cannot cut the cord to these connections because it's a connection. These connections have been in place from the beginning of our creation. Not the beginning of your incarnation, the beginning of your creation. And everything is like it's just speeding up back into this place of purity and oneness. And anything that had been corrupted in the system or anything that had been taken away, and there are some codes that have been coming through that have been hidden, but they're now coming together because we had to release certain things within our subconscious mind. We had to release certain programming. We had to release so many different things. And as we keep releasing certain things, then what happens is the element of all the DNA that's within us can now start to be templated in our bodies, through our light bodies. And so I just wanted to remind again, each person, whatever path that you're on, whatever journey that you're on, just stop for that moment while you're going through it and analyze yourself and pay attention to the signs and the messages. And you'll be amazed and surprised to know how, when it shows up the way that it does, that it is leading you to the next level of your ascension. You think of it just like the video games that my kids play, and you go to the next level and the next level. This is exactly what's happening. And some have asked me, well, how much more do we have to go through this? It's ongoing. We are evolving as souls. We're evolving as beings. We are templating our light bodies into our physical bodies. We are bringing on something that has never been done before, that it stays in that space. And as each person that is connected to each other comes in, sometimes it has to pull itself away for that moment, so that way it can ground the energy and disintegrate what no longer serves it, and then it comes back again. And so as you are going through it, remember again to work through your own healing. Take those sea salt baths, and if you can't take a sea salt bath, then you get you can get the sea salt. I have this thing, which I had in front of me, but there's this thing that I get from Bed Bath & Beyond, and it has the sea salt in there, and you can take it like even for a shower, and you can even do the sea salt scrub on your body. And what it does is that it kind of like, it not only rejuvenates you, but it actually does clear the energy on your body and helps you to feel good. And it also works through releasing toxins from your body, because your body even carries energy when you're in contact with people per day. So imagine if you're working through your shit and somebody else has their shit going on and you're in contact with them. Even if you're on the phone, you're carrying all that energy. So it's important to sage and to clear the energy around you, whether you're in a crowd or not. And as you continue to do it as a daily practice, you're able to navigate through this energy, and again, for it to help you to come back into a space of greater peace. You see, because I know in some cases you may not feel at peace. You may feel angry. We had to process through a lot of what they call it, Kali energy and anger and things, because the divine feminine had been suppressed for so long, from so many centuries, and all because of lack of understanding. We were labeled all these names, and again, the energy of Mother God has risen because it was left out. And this has to do with coming to that space of balancing yourself between the feminine and masculine. The masculine energy represents taking action, and also, going into the mindset and linear thought, and, anything that, that has to be done. And then when it comes to the feminine aspect with balancing, is remembering again to go with your intuition, surrendering, which is on both ends anyway, with surrendering. Also, when it comes to nurturing yourselves. And either way, it's all about balance. If you find yourself doing too much of one thing and then you're not coming into balance with the other aspect of yourself, then what happens? You become resentful. Your body starts to give you, warnings. You feel tired or you feel irritated. And that means then, if you feel in your heart that you're not as happy as you would like to be, your soul is speaking to you. Your soul is always speaking to you. It's always telling you something, and you don't have to necessarily look at it as judging, but more observing. Because when you think of judgment again is another word that feels heavy, because then we come back again to this right versus wrong, the right versus wrong thing. And if you do not understand or know what another person's path is, don't judge it. You make the observation. And again, if you feel that you have to call the person a name or this person that, again, remember to come back to that place where you ask yourself, what is showing up here? What's really happening here? Is this person really affecting me this way? No, I know in some cases there may be somewhere it affects you so bad that that's it, you're done. There's no going back. And you will know when it's really time to cut the cord and to cut the ties. There's some of you that are still holding on to belief systems. There's some of you that are still holding on to things that your parents have told you, and you're like 30, 40 something years old, and you're still living your life with how they want you to be, who you should be married to, or who you should be with, or that you should be married, or where is you don't have any children. Those are all programming as well. And this is about you really living and being in your freedom and sovereignty, and still being within integrity as well. If you know that you're doing business with someone and you feel that you have that you have to compete with that person, or you got to take from that person, then all you're doing is creating karma for yourself. Because again, this is about where you're honoring yourself and you're honoring others. Because at some point, it's coming. Believe me when I tell you, there will be no monetary value on the US dollar. So a lot of things are changing economically. You can see a lot of things are falling apart. There's a lot of business. Every time I go, either to the mall or the Bronx or wherever, something is going out of business somewhere. And we're all being pushed and propelled to working for ourselves as well. And it kind of can be hard because we're so used to how we feel we need to function, because of course we have bills to pay, we have to eat, we have to do all these things. We're going to start, some of us, if we haven't already, to start growing stuff in your own garden and eating natural foods and not processed foods. Even if you feel that you used to eat something 2 weeks ago, all of a sudden you find yourself saying, oh my gosh, I don't feel like, your soul is like, it's already repelling certain things that you're not going to be in certain places. You may go back to it again, you may not. Or you may find yourself, like I said, not eating certain foods. You may go back to it again. You may find yourself feeling like you've lost 5 of your friends, and it's okay because it's a part of this cycle. And you may feel that you can't even be in the same conversations anymore with certain people. Like it's just like a turn off. Like you don't what they call it. You're not resonating any longer. You may have even been connecting to someone who's a soul sister or on the twin flame path, and find yourself saying, "Well, it's not clicking anymore with me with this person." And we can still love one another from a distance, and still know that it all comes together in its own way, and we can let go of what we think how this is all supposed to work and how it's supposed to look. You don't need to either go too much into the politics and all the other stuff that's happening. Everything must show itself and come forth. And I say this also, whatever you feel that you do not want to experience, do not give it a second thought. The veil is so thin, the energy is so, I would say, ripe, that the minute when you start thinking, it comes on rapid manifestation. And as we're going through this, I call it sort of like a muck, right? Because as all these light codes are flowing, coming through from, Sirius, and the central sun, which is called Sirius, and what's coming through, the actual sun itself, and as it is coming through the body, it's going to keep bringing out all the elements of the darkness, as one would say, or the shadow, the pain. There's so many who are still carrying elements of hurt from traumas to the body, especially sexual traumas in the womb space for a lot of females. And many of us decided to incarnate as females so we can clear that energetic hold that is on the planet, to heal, because every single one of us have passed through the womb space. And if we're passing through the womb space and we're carrying all those old genetic programming and hurt and pain, that means that's how you're passing it on, and they call it the generational curse. So as you lift yourself up and you bring yourself out and bring it in, again, into the awareness of all the things that have occurred in your family, if you're from a family of dysfunction, if you feel like you've pitted against one another as siblings, or if you've been molested by a relative, or anyone that you feel that you thought that you could feel safe with them, all these things must come out in the open. But once it comes out in the open, it's important that you speak on it, that you let your voice be heard, and that includes both males and females, because it's not subjected to only females. It's time for everyone to really start thinking about all the things that you know that have been within you that you have not spoken up about, whether you've been treated indifferently, whether you've been discriminated against, whether you have seen something but you're not saying anything, whether you know that you're with someone and you know that something feels off, or you feel like someone might be suicidal, or you feel like as if something's happening to a child. Speak up now. It's time to pay attention to all of this. There's no more turning away your nose and leaving it for somebody else to do it, or that it doesn't matter. Everything matters. It all matters, okay? You matter. But most of all, make sure you pay attention to what's happening with you. Nothing is happening to you. It's happening through you. And so I hope I've said quite a bit more than I thought I would, but I knew it was coming, that I would have to, I don't feel like as if I'm saying anything new here, because I've spoken before, and I'm just making, again, observation of, people that I interact with and what I hear them saying, and, we're all one collective consciousness. So when one person is saying one thing, there is a group that's also saying and feeling the same thing. And it doesn't matter whether it applies to anyone who's on a twin flame path, or if you're on a light worker path, or, you could be in a pastoral path, you could be in a ministry path. It doesn't matter. It's still a path. It's a path. And because I'm not saying anything against I would say, religion, but it's the structure that had been created with how things have been done in the past with programming and fear, and to know that a lot of things have been coded to, which was on purpose, again, by the soul, was coded so that way you can uncode and unlock the keys to what has been happening in creation. And now we are in our element of freedom to change that. And the change starts from within you first. It's not just pointing the fingers. If you want the change to happen, start changing within yourself first. And that means that you start living consciously. You live consciously how? By paying attention to your habits, what you say, what you speak, how you feel. What are your feelings behind anything that triggers you? If something's triggering you, then go to the source of where it's triggering you. Or if you feel you don't know what to identify with what's triggering you, then seek help from someone to get started from somewhere. And that means you're seeking someone that is within integrity, of course, and that they're not just out to get your money and tell you they're going to help you to do this when that's not the case. Because like I said, all those things that have happened throughout lifetimes and centuries with people taking advantage of people and putting fear in people that you better do this or this is going to happen to you, or you better do that or that, all that type of programming stuff is what is no longer. And I believe more people that I've been coming into contact with are truly awakening. Oh yeah. I'm just looking and I'm saying, wow, amazing, and because in I would say in the greater aspect of things is that spirit wants us to remember ourselves through ourselves. In other words, we may be able to be there as guideposts for one another, but always remember again to go within so you don't go without. Do not give away your power anymore. And that includes in every aspect. See? Yes, change comes from within, Cheney. Change comes from within. Because the minute they say that you point the finger at someone, don't forget to bring it back to yourself. I can honestly say, to do with my own self, that the way how I feel and the way that I have lived my life and how things have been for me, regardless of how it's been up and down and down and up and up and up, and then sometimes it goes down and then sometimes it comes in the middle and stuff, is that everything is reflecting what I'm creating. And some of us are here to demonstrate even greater things. And some of us may say, well, I just want to be on the sideline and be in my little quiet corner. And that's okay. Because not every one of us is going to come out roaring. Some of us will, because we're all on individual paths and journeys. And we're coming back into that space of self and oneness at the same time. And those of us who are on that twin flame path, again, we are in the end times. The end of old ways, of old customs. And therefore, how can one think that these divine soul sacred paths would not come together if it was not for the fact of what is happening right now? You see, the energy that occurs between twin souls is so strong and so divine and so powerful. That is the saying that says that whatsoever God has joined together, let no man. That means nothing, no powers, no principalities. I don't give a rat's ass what anybody else puts out there. You are together. We're bringing this together. There's no more separation, no more mourning and crying and pain. That's what it means. No more, no more. There will be a time as the veil gets thinner where we're going to be communicating with those who have transitioned, because they're helping, and we're helping them to also to heal as well with things that they've experienced in this lifetime and other lifetimes. I've had to process things with my mom, even with my brother and my mother, you see, and it's all a part of this plan. You see, everything has been mapped out. Everything has been mapped out to the date and the time of everything. And there's souls again, that are transitioning to assist with the awakening, because there's some who have decided from a soul level that they're not able to do it on this side, but they agreed that they're going to do it on the other side. And the other side is not far away. I just want to let you know it's right here. We're all vibrating in that same, it's just that the frequency is higher. But it's not up in the sky, darlings. It's right here. Heaven is now here. It's now here. It's nowhere to go. It's to be. Before my mom had transitioned, I told her, I said, Mommy, I said, this is really hell. But we can now change it and say, yeah, I am experiencing, notice the words I say, Because as you say, I am puts forth that energy of what you're creating. So change your words now and say, I am experiencing hell. And through this time, it is temporary, and therefore I'm now recreating and experiencing my heaven through hell. And I'm back to heaven. You see, complete the circle. Everything is in its time and space exactly the way it's supposed to be, the bigger picture. That's right. That's right. Because, you know, even the time is collapsing. You know, it's like, I don't even go to bed anyway until like 5, 6 o'clock every single morning. And I let it go. I've had to let go of so many linear things. And I'm a very strong female. But I still know that whatever I know where I'm to place my power, even if it's through pain, I have my power. If it's through sadness, I still have my power. And it's okay that I can be vulnerable, you know, with all the things that I've experienced. And it's okay to feel lonely sometimes, because it can become a very lonely path. But the one good thing, what I love about the connection that I have with others and spirit, is that I'm really never alone. There's not a time or a moment that I'm ever alone, because if it's not the kids, then it's just always someone or something, because we're so interconnected. I will never forget this young man, Chad, when I was at the lowest point in my life with this journey, because it can be quite, can be like unbearable sometimes. And, like you feel like you're crazy, and then you're like, but no, I'm not crazy. And you feel depressed and sad and all these different elements of things that you're processing through the human vessel. And he just reached out to me out of the blue. I never met him before. I never knew him, but that was spirit. You see? That was and when I say spirit, please understand that there's elements of spirit. We have ascended masters. We have our spirit guides. We have our loved ones. We have the divine, and we have each other. See? And so no matter what, everything is still ordained to what is to be. Even if you feel that you made a wrong choice, which I said again, there's no such thing as right and wrong. But even if you feel that you made a decision and you feel it was a bad decision, guess what? It was a decision. And that decision was made based on a path that you were taking to where you were becoming a greater version of you. Because there's always another version and a greater version. There's versions upon versions, and there's more elements of you that's coming in, you know. Have you ever had a dream or a vision of your soul, what it looks like? Have you ever, any one of you? I can tell you I have. And my soul is huge. It is so big. And I was able to observe my soul from in a dream state and observe and see myself. And I'm like, wow, look how big I am. That's who I really am. I'm not just Sharon or Nefertiti or just a set. And, I'm me. And there's more to me than meets the eye. And so are you. And as you unlock and uncover, I guess the secrets and, whatever it is. And, I always believe too and know that there is no such thing as a secret, because everything is being made known. Everything is coming out into the open. Everything is coming to that space of vulnerability and authenticity. And that's why even if you feel you can hide, we can no longer hide our feelings. We can no longer hide our thoughts. I have the ability to feel thoughts and hear thoughts and feel energy. And I can read the energy and feel the energies. Like I read it. I don't know how to describe it. And it's so fluid. And many of us are coming into that place. And, and I may say, I don't like to use the word psychic, because that also carries a word and element of negative energy in a way, because people would sometimes look at people who are psychic and say, oh, they're evil. Oh, you're doing witchcraft. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Even the word witch itself. And I told someone, I said, well, I know that we were and have been witches, in the past, but it had been used in a negative context. And so I said, for now, I won't use that word for now, because it carries a heavy weight and energy. So therefore, I prefer to say that I'm an empathic reader. It feels lighter. So if you want to know, how do I know which words to use? Because I used to feel like, damn, that's so much freaking nitpicking. But guess what? Words are not used in the element of this soul journey on the other side. We communicate telepathically. That means that we feel the energy, we feel the message, and that's the importance of coming and staying in that heart space, because the heart space is what the truth is, to be honest with you. That's what the truth is. I can't begin to tell you how many times when I have conversations sometimes, and I don't usually like to give all the answers, and I say, well, what do you feel? What are you feeling coming from my heart? Do you feel I'm trying to hurt you, or do you feel that I'm sending you love and I'm trying to help you? You see? And that's what I'm talking about. It's coming from the heart space and really connecting. See how we connect to one another. Because I tell you this, the world is not going to be the way how it is now in the next decade. And there will come a time where we're all going to be in love with each other. And when I say in love with each other, I mean really in love with each other. Just like how if your boy, when they say boy meets girl, or boy meets boy, or girl meets girl, and you're like, oh my God, oh, I feel something, oh, my heart is pitter-pattering. And you just feel this high heart energy, and your whole body starts to feel it. That is exactly what the earth is going to be like. Scout's honor. I already had the experience, and I knew, and when I say had the experience, meaning that Spirit had me go through the in-depth experience of feeling in love with even someone that was of the same sex. And I am heterosexual. I consider myself to be attracted to males, but I felt this energy like I wanted to make love to this female. And that's because it had been distorted to what this feeling of true love is. And I'm not just talking about true love, where you say, oh, I love this person as a human being. I'm talking about being in love with one another. It's a high vibratory feeling. It's like you're like a spin top, and everything else just falls off. That is not of love, you see? And that's what it is. So some of you may find yourself awakening to that experience. You don't have to feel embarrassed or ashamed, because you go before God, Mother and Father God, and they're not ashamed of you. And it's only because of everything that had been twisted so much and distorted, and all that separation that happened, especially with twin souls and what they're here to do. And yes, the age of Aquarius, and I am an Aquarian, and I am here to bring truth like no tomorrow. And and I speak from my heart. Once again, I'm not reading any papers. I didn't jot no notes, because whatever and however Spirit, guides me to speak this, I will speak it. And the elements again of the planets that are shifting so much, and what's in gear. And I know from what I have felt that there are quite a bit of unions that have already been taking place. I've had several people that I know of that have come into contact with their twin, or in that same space. I do know that there have been so much shifting that have been happening with the divine masculine. And when I say shifting, I mean that really being like stripping off of so much stuff. And we don't have to keep the armor on ourselves. And when I say divine masculine, please know that it even includes those who are females, in the female body, but even more so the ones who are in the male body. Remember that those who incarnated in the male body agreed to carry especially that element of heaviness to a greater degree. And as they hold that space of what's on the physical earth, as we're meeting halfway now, and it's like the way Spirit shows me is that it is so like melding in now, because I've had several dreams of myself merged with my twin even more energetically, and how much surrendering is happening on in the higher planes. And now it's beginning to come forward in the physical space. And it it's like for me in my house, as they say, how do I say it? It's like, it's not just say it's not just subjected to what we're bringing together in terms of relationships, but it's the interrelationship with everything, the union of everything, the union of souls, the union of our families, the union of healing as we come together, the balancing of all things, the acceptance of the self, and the acceptance of how the self shows up through each individuation of those that are in our circle, knowing when it's time to let go, and knowing when it's time to hold on, or it's time to be in that space with whomever or whatever, again, is following that intuition and the feeling that you get, and then when when it's time to let go, and when it's time to detach, when it's time to honor your feelings, honor your path, honor your experiences, pay attention to your experiences, because that is what is speaking the loudest to you. So when I teach anyone or tell anyone about how to navigate through this path, and yes, that's my website, the www.thereturnofthegardenofeden.com. I forgot to mention that too. I did my website on my own. I was resistant, very resistant, because I was like, for me as an Aquarian, who I am, I don't like doing the same thing like everyone else. And I feel like in this lifetime, I'm not here to just be on a mission. When I help anyone, I do it from my heart, because that's what I love to do. If I know that I can make you smile or give you a laughter, when I give you jokes, when I give you laughter, you're getting belly laughs. You're gonna, you need the pens when you're around me, because I'm a comedian too. I give jokes. And so when I finally surrendered, what made me surrender, because of the fact that I was doing the fair 2 weeks ago in Manhattan, and I was like, dang, now I'm going to have to do the website, because people are going to need to be able to look. And I was like, oh, I don't have time for this. But you know what? Spirit got my back, because what ended up happening is that there was a simple website called GoDaddy.com. So I went to Daddy, and it was so simple, and voila. And also, I'd like to announce that I updated my Patreon account. So if any one of you feel guided or desire to donate to me, because I am doing, God's work. I am doing God's work. I really am. And I'm doing it for myself and all of us. It's a group thing. And, there's some of us who are awakened more ahead of time. I consider myself to be awakened since I got out of my mother's womb, okay? Because from I was 3, even when I look at my pictures, I saw myself looking bored, and I looked like I was, tired, and I was upset that I was back. I was like, shit. I mean, I saw it in my eyes, and I realized how I was feeling, and, what it meant, because, it is quite dense in this space called Earth. But the good news is that things are now starting to lift, and you can feel it, and it's like we're passing through deep core wounds that have existed for centuries. And if you think about it, that has occurred for billions and billions of years. I'm talking about prehistoric. I'm talking BC. Okay, and I'm not cursing bad word either. So that's a long time. If you laughing at me, you know what I mean when I say BC. You have to laugh sometimes. And sometimes, even with everything go through, after a while, you have to laugh. You just have to laugh at yourself, because, when it comes to coming into these unions, it's about lightening up. Lighten up. Lighten up. And if anybody been paying attention, I've been going to the comedy club 3 weeks in a row. And of course, I like to support my black folks, my fellow entrepreneurs, and anyone that's in their own business and stuff like that, because it's time for us to come together as communities and work together. It's time for us to rebuild ourselves and stop focusing on things that have happened in the past. It has served itself, its purpose from the past. Now it's time to be present, because it's in the present moment is where we have our gifts. The gift is now. Do you think I focus on somebody else with what's happening in their kingdom? No, me focus on my queendom and kingdom right now. Because you see, because that's where things are happening. Because then if I focus on anybody else's kingdom and what this other person doing to this other one, then what happens is I'll miss the mark again. The sin is not really sin. In Aramaic, it's missing the mark, missing the signs, missing the messages, missing what is meant to be for you and your blessings. You see what I'm saying? Understand the nature of who you are, okay? The beast and the beauty, everything, all of it together, integrating your light and your shadow. If you know that you do some things that are just so fucked up, then you just say, hey, I admit it, this is me. You know, and then you choose again. It's all based on choices. And even still, I asked the divine, I said, well, even though we have choices that we make, well, then whose will really takes place precedent, you know? And no matter what question I ask, they still give me the same answer. Both. And still, we all would agree that there is still a higher power to all of this, because it's a universal power, and it's the powers that be that come together. And remember that it's like we're in a movie, and the movie is playing itself out, and we are the characters to our movie. And when you can now allow yourself to step back and observe that movie and make observation of it instead of judgment, there lies the wisdom. See? So I even said to someone this week, you know, knowledge, gaining knowledge and having knowledge is, you know, powerful. But the wisdom that comes behind it now, there is the power. Because you see, when you come from that space, of wisdom, no one can take that away from you, because it's something that comes through to you. It's like a gift. It's like it's like a aha, you know, and ooh, wow, you know, like you get it. And it's almost like when, like in my country, they say, boy, you can give somebody a book to read, and, you know, they can be a book reader and book smart. But if you don't have common sense, you can't teach anybody common sense. So imagine if each and every one of us were to focus on what wisdom do you get from what you have, now I can say, learned from your experiences. What are you going to do with it? Because, you know, what becomes the, I would say, sort of the judgment in a way is, once you're aware of what's happening and you're aware of the things that you have experienced or what's been given to you, now what? What are you going to do with it? You think you can ignore it like before? No, we can't. We must face ourselves. We must face the mirrors. We must face everything. We cannot run from any of this, no matter what we do. I can't begin to tell you how many times things have come my way, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then all of a sudden, bam, here it goes in my face again. And it's like, oh my goodness. So you know what? I surrender. See? And and at that place of surrender, that's what brings you the greater peace. So just remember again to follow your heart. Your heart knows the way. It knows the way. I feel it knows the way more than the nose. You know, when I think again, when Spirit brought me back to the Wizard of Oz, which I've been hearing messages subliminally to do with the Wizard of Oz, you know, and both Dorothy and Alice had a path to take. And they both had, one descended, okay, Alice descended into a different realm. And she thought that she lost herself in that realm, but she was always who she was, no matter what size she became. And when she realized and remembered who she was, then she became the true Alice, the higher version Alice, the real Alice, but she was still the other Alice too. So that's the thing to remember. You're still who you are in the 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D, 12D, 40, whatever dimension. You are still you. And it's to remember all the versions of you, to accept all the versions of you, to merge all the versions of you, to bring forth the versions of you, and how you're templating it into this great glory that shines in any way that you can. It doesn't matter what way that you do. All that matters is that you follow your heart. and see where it takes you. And you'll be surprised at how much more magical moments that you get with that. You know, it's just one surprise after the other. And Dorothy now, she had to go through remembering that she can not only follow her heart, but she always had a brain all the time. She always had her heart all the time. And she didn't have to feel like as if she was really all alone, because, you know, the Tin Man and the Cowardly Lion and I can't remember the other character, that was all a representation of her. That was really her self showing up as versions of, you know, all the other characters in The Wizard of Oz. And when she thought that she could escape to get her way back home by going to someone, externally, which is what, you know, human beings do, is that we're always seeking outside of ourselves by going to someone or giving someone else the power, you know, like, you know, a family member or a pastor or you know, whatever the title may be, you know, a friend, you know, someone else or something else, that power to make the decisions and, you know, and for who we are. And this is about us stepping into greatness and remembering that all you have to do is click your heels and you're home. You're home. So I am going to leave you with just a little, I would say, meditation, and just bringing ourselves into the space of gratitude. Today is now August 17th. We're in mid-August. Mercury is supposed to be going forward, I believe, on the 19th. You know, I've been pulled by Spirit to really focus on what's happening planetary. And I still implore you, when you really bring all the pieces together to this puzzle, this journey, including what's happening astrologically in your sign, that also enlightens you. And you are in a greater awareness of where your path lies. And that's why even if you were born the same time as someone else in another country, you're still aspecting something different from that person, because there are no two snowflakes that are the same. See, even with your twin soul, you represent the same person, you know, because you have the male version and the female version of his feminine version, the masculine version of yourself, and still it is an individual and it's a collective thing, and no matter what, it still comes together. You see? And so as you put it all together, because I study even the charts of myself and my counterparts as well, you know, and I find it to be absolutely fascinating, very fascinating. And it's like, again, it's like, wow, makes sense. Now I know why this is repeating the same way, you know, on both sides. What is connecting the both together? What we all agreed, you know, those on the twin soul journey, that we're stepping boldly into the space. You know, I think of it like, every time I visualize it, I think of the time of the giants, you know, the titans, because I know I was one of them. And now we're not clashing anymore. We're really bringing the element of the goddess and the god energy. See, that's right. They were born in different times. Yeah, absolutely. And I believe from what was shown to me, because there were two different creations, you know, and I was guided to look in only the first chapter of the scriptures, and it was two different, you know, what they call it was Atlantis time frame, but it was still considered to be, you know, wherever. I know it was in Africa, that's for sure, and parts of Africa, I should say, as far as where the elements of things that were traveling to different parts of the world, you know, the languages, the cultures, and all that. So, which I'll talk about at a later time. And if anyone doesn't remember that, I am doing an audiobook, The Return of the Garden of Eden, and it's not finished. I mean, wherever it's at right now. feel free to visit my page, Sharon Andrea, The Return of the Garden of Eden, where I have excerpts of things that happened during the course of my, I call it my twin soul awakening journey, which started back in 2014. And it has been quite an adventure, I must say. And I can definitely honestly say that I am definitely in totally different space than I was 3 years ago. I remember myself just being stripped of so many things, and what oh, you know what, the landlord tried to get it fixed, but for some reason it's still doing the same thing. I didn't even realize it was still going off. So oh, I hear it. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I just kind of ignore it now with the beeping sound. I kind of ignore it now. But so I think that's just about it for now. I just feel that maybe once again, to reiterate, to pay attention to the signs, the messages, the codes that come through, the numbers, number sequences. Look them up. Look up anything that shows up in, even your animal totems as well, because it is something that is meant to be for you, and everything is still happening in its divine timing. So anyway, I don't want to keep rambling, so let me just say that meditation, prayer for those who are here, and those who may be listening to this after. Because, like I said, in all things, I give Jah thanks for these moments of clarity, and, even for myself, that even when I go back and listen, I'm also reminding myself of what this is all about. And it's about love. It's about divine love. No, I'm not in Brooklyn. I'm in Rockland County, not Brooklyn. But I am familiar with Brooklyn. I used to live in the Bronx. So, Mother, Father, God, I want to thank you for this moment. I want to thank you for all of us that are gathered here in oneness and in love, truth and clarity. Thank you for everything that comes together in divine love and peace, and for everything that shows up in our space, that no matter how it looks, no matter how it feels, that we know that there is something that is happening to do with this journey and this path. We are in such gratitude for what we have gone through as far as the divine feminine, and what she's had to heal, so many core wounds, and so much of the separation, and what has been, I would say, buried for centuries and forgotten, and how much that she has endured, especially for those of us who are mothers with children, and what we've gone through with our bodies and our souls when we have been branded so many names, and there was no honor that was left. All the tears and what has happened emotionally for us, and especially being separated from our divine masculine. Everything that has occurred, that we are now allowing ourselves to continue to be in that space of forgiveness of ourselves and forgiveness of the divine masculine, and that we are now changing the names that are called to one another, in knowing that we are just bringing something outward into what needed to be made known, so that way we're able to identify what is of need of healing. I'm in gratitude also of the divine masculine in where we are at with that healing, that they're able to remember what love is and remember true love, and that they're also in a space of forgiveness, that they're able to heal through the mother space, to heal through the abandonment issues, in knowing that it's not necessary to keep the armor on anymore, that we're not at war with each other. The war days are over. It's over. We're now free to love. That we can continue to shed the fear, the doubt, the anger. That we don't have to turn to anything external to hide the pain anymore. We don't have to go into relationships that no longer serves us, that we don't have to use any thing in our body to hide and to cover it, that we don't have to work ourselves to death, that we don't have to detach from feeling and connecting intimately with one another, that we can now allow ourselves to be free to love and free to be who we truly desire to be. That it's okay, and that we don't have to feel triggered emotionally to any type of manipulation or anything that presents the things that have been held in the consciousness of what females have done to males either. And that it's okay to come forward with love and acceptance of themselves and acceptance of love, as we all accept ourselves and accept what true love is, because it's something that's felt from the heart, and that we don't have to necessarily see it, but knowing that it still comes together. And so as we continue on this journey and this path back to the self, as we continue on this path back to God, as we continue this path back to everything that comes together, not only with this planet, but all the other planets, the galactic family, and everything to who we are that has been written throughout history, that we can now bring this into the physical space, that we can now marvel and say, this is truly divine. And so it is. I say. So, beautiful people, in honor of the great, wonderful Aretha Franklin, I just wanted to dedicate just one song in her, I would say, remembrance, since I don't want to say memory, because she's still here. And the one thing I know, that every time when an artist transitions to the other side, they always come to visit me and give me a message. And her soul is so grand, and what she showed me is how much she is bringing all of us together through this ascension, because we're now focused on her and this transition. And when you hear her songs, you feel it in your heart. You don't start thinking about all the problems and all these things that are going on. You just think about love, because when you look back at her life, she sang from her heart. And what was her gift was her voice and her music. That no matter where you are in the world, all you could think of is love when you hear her voice. So, one of my favorite songs is Respect. So let's all love and respect one another for where we are in our journeys as souls. No more separation. No more sorrow. Everything come together. Thank you for the prayer. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. No wrong. Nope. She was a feisty lady too. I love her. Strength, power, yes. Fall in respect, just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Ooh. I know, right? All of it. joining me. Don't forget to look me up on YouTube, Sharon Andrea. My page is also Sharon Andrea, The Return of the Garden of Eden. And also my Patreon account, you'll be able to find that on my YouTube channel. I don't remember. I think it's, oh yeah, it's still Sharon Andrea, The Return of the Garden of Eden. If you would like to schedule a reading, because I do Ascension and Twin Flame readings, you need guidance and so on. My Patreon account, I am offering special packages for anyone who would like, I would say maybe like 4 or 5 sessions where you donate to me a certain amount per month. Or if you would just like to donate, you know, for anything to support what is happening on the planet to do with our awakening, that'll be wonderful. You can visit me on my Patreon site and you will be able to donate from there. Also, my PayPal link is also available as well for that. And you should check out my website, thereturnofthegardenofeden.com. You'll be able to get information and background on myself, and also the page Sharon Andrea, where you get information to do with the book. It's an audio book. And if anything that you would like to schedule, you can send me an email at thegardenofeden1111@gmail.com. If you would like to pre-book the reading from me being in I think it's Washington D.C. on Saturday, I will leave the information in the box below because that's where you're going to be contacting Ta'Von to do with setting that up. If not, if you come there next week, you know, where I'll be there, you'll be able to get a live reading. When you get a live reading, it is just as powerful, even if it's on the phone. But of course, it is even more powerful. I have to tell you that. And Ta'Von and I, we definitely are on the same path, soul frequency, when it comes to the messages that we deliver. And we've been looking forward to this for a very long time. If there's any chance that I'm not available for reading, he's the person that I will have to do, you know, in lieu of whatever that I do to do with readings as well. So I am so thankful and grateful to each and every one of you. I send you so much love, peace, and blessings, and that every single moment of the day for your path, that I am in gratitude for clarity and centeredness for each and every one of you. Send you so much love. You make me feel like a brand new woman. Make me feel like a natural woman. Always be yourself, because that's what counts. Love you.